It's beef time once again, baby. I already spoke about this fight, right, a few days ago. I did give my overall prediction on the fight. I did say that I think Alex Pereira will win, and I'm not too sure if I'm changing that prediction here. And I think a lot of people got the impression that I was saying just because I think that Alex Pereira poses more of a stylistic threat towards Ankalaev than Ankalaev does to Pereira. That means that I think this fight is just one-sided and Pereira will absolutely beat down Ankalaev. It's not what I'm saying. I don't think Ankalaev has no chance here because I do think that Ankalaev, when it comes down to it, has some of the best striking at 205. He doesn't really have the striking to match Alex Pereira in that department, but if he establishes the takedown threat, then maybe he can even the odds a little bit when the fight is on the feet. He has a very sharp left hand. I think that left hand, also the lead hook, those are great shots from Ankalaev that he can find on Alex Pereira, and he can potentially hurt him at the end of the day, right? Like anyone pretending like Ankalaev poses no threat to Alex Pereira on the feet are foolish, I believe. And there is genuine danger for Alex Pereira there, but I'm sure I'm not the first person to point this out, but Ankalaev, and I know I already spoke about the leg kicks, right? The propensity that he's shown towards leg kicks. Obviously, against Rakic, he showed to have slightly better defense. He was able to deal with the leg kicks better, but at the same time, like Rakic is not a leg kicker on the same level as a Jan Blachowicz, or like better yet, on the level of Alex Pereira, because Pereira happens to be one of the best, if not the best, leg kickers in the game right now. There's no tell on those shots, and the damage accumulates so damn quickly that it's hard to compare anyone's leg kicks with Alex Pereira's. Just considering just how little he seems to put into it, doesn't twist the hips into those kicks, hides them so well. They're so hard to find, so I don't really care about the improvements in Ankalaev's leg kick defense ability that he's shown against Rakic, because you just cannot compare Rakic to Alex Pereira. It's two different things. But one thing that I noticed when rewatching some of their fights back is that Ankalaev has a serious tendency to drop his lead hand when throwing his left. And that is what got Jamal Hill hurt against Alex Pereira. Right? He slipped off, avoided the left hand, and then punished him for dropping the lead hand. He also happens to be a southpaw, which Alex Pereira has shown the ability to deal with and counter those straight left hands, like I said, against Jamal Hill and against Khalil Roundtree. Once he had Khalil Roundtree broken down, he hit that flow state. He was batting 100% on Khalil Roundtree's face, slipping that left hand at will and countering him at will. And this poses some serious danger for Ankalaev on the feet, because if he gets a little froggy and he decides he wants to test his stand-up against Alex Pereira, I think it'll go very badly for him. I do think so. I think he may have his moments. He could land a couple of left hands like Khalil Roundtree did and all that, right? He could look pretty good on the feet. But I think the second that he senses real danger on the feet, which will be quick, he'll resort to the grappling, right? And I'm so sick of it. I have to point this out, right? I'm so sick of seeing this fucking childish way of breaking down fights. Everyone talking about, Ankalaev, he tweeted and said that he's going to stand up or whatever. He said that he's going to stand up with Alex, but now he's saying that he's going to grapple with him. Dude, what a liar. Oh my God, it's haram to lie. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. This is a mockery to fight breakdown in general. Stop taking the words of Ali Abdelaziz seriously. Stop taking tweets seriously. How much stock do you put in fucking tweets? It's ridiculous that this is even being factored into fight breakdowns. Of course Ankalaev is going to mix in the grappling. He's a fucking Sambo. He's a Sambo guy, right? He comes from a Sambo base, and Alex Pereira is the best fucking striker in the world potentially. So no shit, he's going to mix in the grappling. It doesn't take a fucking tweet for you to know that. Like, what the fuck do you guys think this is? But back to the point about Ankalaev dropping his lead hand, I wanted to point out this one example against Thiago Santos, for example, right? Where he was punished for that tendency of his, where he's dropped pretty much back-to-back with left hooks. I'm not too sure if the first knockdown is off a left hook. It was just one of those classic Thiago Santos flurries where he looks like the Tasmanian devil and you actually have no idea what the fuck is going on there. But then the follow-up left hook that really puts Ankalaev on his ass was a big one, man. Comes right over the top, although Alex Pereira doesn't exactly throw his shots in the same way. He doesn't really throw shots over the top in that sense. You know, he does throw his left hook in a lot tighter of a fashion, so he may have to actually get closer to Ankalaev to land it, and he doesn't really throw it wildly like that, but it really does not make a difference, because the fact of the matter is that Ankalaev has a real tendency to drop that lead hand, and it just poses serious danger, as I keep saying. So I'm sticking to my prediction of Alex Pereira. I still think he'll get him out of there by the third round. It could be earlier. Like when it comes to Alex Pereira, man, it really depends on his approach. And it depends on how early he's able to find that shot, because we saw against Jamal Hill that, if he wasn't able to find that left hook that early, then I think we probably would have seen a similar performance to the one we saw against Khalil. Probably would have chopped at the legs and then got him out of there late. But he was able to find the shot early. And that's the thing with Alex Pereira, is that he has a super underrated gas tank. Like a seriously underrated gas tank. Like he's gone at a pretty decent pace after getting stung by Izzy, right, and survived and picked up the finish in the 5th round. That's very impressive. Like for his 4th fight in the UFC, I think it was at the time as well. And not to mention that he went back and forth with Jan Blachowicz at altitude, where everyone on the card was gassing. Alex Pereira was the freshest looking fighter on the entire card. I think he has a very underrated gas tank. So the fact that he hits that hard is just crazy, because he can really find that shot at any point, right? So picking a specific round with Alex Pereira, it's tough, but I do see the knockout coming here. I do see the knockout. Although in the early rounds, maybe round 1, round 2, I can see Ankalaev maybe having some success in getting Alex Pereira to the ground. Even though Alex has surely, secured his takedown defense in some kind of a way and improved upon it. Like you have to assume that he has, because he was taken down by Izzy in, like I said, his 4th fight in the UFC. Since then, look at the guys he's beaten. Look at the guys he's gone up against. I understand that a lot of them aren't exactly grapplers. But Alex Pereira doesn't even come from a grappling base, right? These are MMA fighters. Jan Blachowicz is a good grappler. He is a good grappler, right? These guys that Alex Pereira is fighting are better grapplers than Alex Pereira on paper. They've been training grappling for far longer than Alex Pereira has. So people need to understand that for Alex Pereira to even close that gap at all is very impressive. And I think I think the only point in this fight where I can see Ankalaev really getting off a lot of damage on Poatan on the ground is if he hurts him on the feet first. If he hurts Pereira on the feet, gets him to the ground, then I can see him delivering some nasty ground and pound. But when Alex is fresh, I'm not too sure I see Ankalaev really posing too much danger on the ground, but I can see him smudging him and taking rounds off of him and maybe winning a decision here. But I'm not too sure if I see Alex getting finished by Ankalaev. But then again, I've been surprised many times before, right? I've been wrong many times before. I know a lot of people don't like to admit that in the MMA scene. Everyone wants to seem like they're fucking Nostradamus, but it's true, right? We can all get predictions wrong, and Ankalaev is very much capable of winning this fight. But I'm sticking to that prediction. Alex by 3rd round KO. Now I'd like to go and cover the remainder of the card for you guys. And let's get started with Jordan Santos versus Ozzy Diaz. Now Ozzy Diaz, he was unfortunate enough to go up against Zhang Minyang, pretty much like the Chinese Alex Pereira in his UFC debut, which is very unfortunate, right? Very unfortunate for him. So I don't really know what to take from Ozzy Diaz, really. Jordan Santos looked pretty good in the Contender Series. Doesn't have a whole lot of finishes under his belt. I think this one will go to decision, but I'm going to pick Jordan Santos by decision, I think there. Then we get a new card, I think, that was just recently added to this event, man. We got Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. Now, this is kind of a toss-up for me. I'm not huge on Chris Gutierrez. I understand his style is effective. He does enough to win a lot of the time. I'm going for John Castaneda, in all honesty. I'm going to go for John Castaneda. I think he has more on the feet. He's more of a dog. And I think he's just going to dog out Chris Gutierrez, man. I don't think that Chris Gutierrez is the kind of fighter who's capable of really going to war like that. I think he wilts relatively quickly. And I think John Castaneda will get that out of him. And I think maybe finishes him in the 2nd round, man. Then we get Myron Santos versus Francis Marshall. These are two, I guess you could call them prospects. I mean, Myron Santos, for example, is absolutely a prospect. Marshall, maybe not. And I mean, like, if he is looked at as a prospect by the UFC, I'm confused as to why you're giving him, oh my goodness, Myron Santos. Because I think Myron Santos is disgusting. I think he's disgusting. I think he might be one of the best strikers at featherweight right now. And he may just fucking put hands on Marshall, man. I think Francis Marshall's in for a, I'm going to say 2nd round knockout here. Myron Santos is, in my opinion, the real deal. The way he looked against Con Ofli, dude, he's serious business. And then we get Alex Morono versus Carlos Leal. Now, Leal looked really good against Fakhretdinov. I've heard some things about him being roided up for that fight, potentially, right, coming in on short notice. I've heard things like that before. There's another fighter that I'm struggling to think of. Basil Hafez, when he came on short notice against JDM, just like the way he looked physically in his next fight compared to how he looked against JDM, and just the way he performed overall, right? So we might see a huge drop-off from Carlos Leal here, considering that he wasn't really probably even tested going into his last fight. So if he was on steroids, maybe he'll look like a shell of himself in this one. But he is a beast, though. He is good. He throws everything with dangerous intent. I think he'll finish Alex Morono. So I'm going to pick Carlos Leal by I'm going to say first round TKO. I think he'll drop him and then ground and pound him to finish him. Then we get Bruno Ferreira versus Armen Petrosyan. Now, this is a tough matchup for both men. Armen Petrosyan is a lot cleaner on the feet. He did get recently chinned by Shara Bullet with that double spinning back fist. And Bruno Ferreira hits like a fucking truck, although he's very hittable. But for me, the danger factor of being in there with Bruno Ferreira, especially if you're not going to grapple with him, if you're not going to smudge him against the fence or take him down and wet blanket him, you're in danger of being knocked out. And I think that at some point, Bruno Ferreira will find that shot against Armen Petrosyan. So I'm gonna put second round knockout as well. And then Joshua Van versus Ray Soraya, another weird one, dude. Two real prospects. Joshua Van has a major advantage on the feet, you would think, right? The boxing combinations that he likes to throw, goes to the body, goes to the head. He's disgusting with the hands. He's very good. He's also very tough to take down. Meanwhile, Ray Soraya he's what I would like to call an aficionado on the ground, right? Him and Tatsuro Tai were both of these Japanese grapplers. They're very crafty. They're able to get the fight to the ground in unique ways, right? And they're able to seemingly get it to the ground from any position. So this guy is not to be slept on. Ray Soraya is no slouch. But I think Joshua Van has too much for him on the feet, and he's too good at keeping the fight on the feet. He's a great sprawling brawler, and this might be a bit of a wake-up call for Ray Soraya. I don't want that to be the case, right? I would prefer these guys don't fight each other at all because I want to see them both rise, right, equally as much. But I think Joshua Van will TKO Ray Soraya, melt him by the third round. I think that's what's going to happen here, although it'll be unfortunate, but this is the year of quote-unquote fraud checks. So maybe Ray Soraya gets fraud checked here. Then we get into Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. Allegedly used to be on the sauce. And, if he comes in this fight sauced up, maybe he does get it done versus Curtis Blades. But I'm really hoping to see Curtis Blades fraud check this dude. I'm really hoping to see that. And for that exact reason, I'm going to pick it. I think Curtis Blades will win this fight by decision. I think this might just be too much of a step up for Kuniev. And I think he'll get taken down and potentially gas out by the third and maybe even get TKO'd. So you know what? I'm picking Curtis Blades third round TKO by ground and pound. Then we get into the main card. And this is a slept on main card, man. Any card with Maurizio Ruffi is slept on, dude. King, I'm calling him Bobby. I'm not calling him King. Bobby Green versus Maurizio Ruffi. This is a tailor-made matchup for Ruffi to win. I'm just going to outright say it. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that he may actually just be the most accurate puncher in MMA right now. This dude barely misses. And with Bobby Green's, low hand style, relying on head movement, He's going to get caught with something. The straight right on Maurizio Ruffi is not only a piston, but it's a fucking laser beam. Right? He finds his opponents with that shot every single time. He rarely misses it. You only see him miss it if he's able to get taken into those later rounds, right? And into the third round, he does slow down a bit. Then that shot can miss. But once he's fresh, dude, that right hand does not miss. Nothing he throws really tends to miss. Just watch his performance against Jamie Malarkey. I get Malarkey isn't Bobby Green defensively, right? I get that. And James Lontop isn't Bobby Green defensively either. But you just have to watch his performances in those fights. He barely misses, dude. He's seriously good. And Bobby Green has been knocked out a few too many times, finished a few too many times recently. And this is the first round knockout for Maurizio Ruffi, in my opinion. But I'm hoping we get a war here, honestly. I'm hoping we see Maurizio get tested by Bobby Green in some way. But at the end of the day, I don't see it happening. I see Maurizio putting him out relatively early. Then we get one of the only female fights that I can even stomach, really. Like, just the thought of. Like, this fight is actually kind of cool on paper. Yasmin Lucindo is pretty fun to watch. Like, she does like to mix things up pretty well. And Lemos just throws big shots. This is a really tough one to pick. Like, Lemos is getting up there in age. Yasmin Lucindo, like, for her age, to have that much experience is fucking crazy. I don't even know who to pick here, dude. I'm actually having a real tough time. I'm gonna pick Lucindo by decision, though. I think maybe the age catches up with Lemos here. And then we get into Jalen Turner against Ignacio Bahamondes. Now, this is a crazy fight on paper. I'm a big Bahamondes guy. I do think that Jalen Turner, I don't want to say he's a one-trick pony, but he's a one-round type of fighter. Right, if the first round is fought at somewhat of a decent pace, then I think Jalen Turner loses this fight if it makes it out of the first round. I think he can maybe spark Bahamondes, despite the fact that Bahamondes is a South American fellow, and these people just have built-in incredible chins. So it's going to be very hard for Jalen Turner to finish him early, I think. And I think Bahamondes just might be more of a technical striker. I think he's better on the feet, but Jalen Turner does have those crazy tarantula arms. And he does have a bit of a jiu-jitsu pedigree, and with those long limbs, he's very good at using those long limbs, especially when it comes to locking and guillotine. So I worry for Bahamondes if it makes it to the ground. If this fight makes it to the ground, he gets tied up with Jalen Turner, the fucking tarantula. He could guillotine finish Bahamondes, make him tap, potentially. But I'm going to pick Bahamondes by third round TKO. I think he will put a beatdown on Jalen Turner by the third round and finish him. I just don't think Jalen Turner has the legs nor the gas to go all three with Bahamondes here. He's too technical, he's too good, he's too sharp. I think he'll beat Jalen, but I think he'll take some damage in the process, though. And then we get into the co-main, and the last fight we'll be breaking down here because we already broke down the main event for you guys. But, dude, Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev 2 is a very exciting matchup. I think a lot of people have the wrong idea of how the first fight actually went down because realistically, man, that fight could have gone either way in the scorecards. The first fight, or the first round, was obviously Fiziev's. Second round could have been Fiziev's as well, but because of recency bias, right, everybody just watches that third round or takes that third round into account, watching Gaethje land uppercuts at will and busting up the eye of Fiziev. But the second round was very close. The second round was actually extremely close, and you could conceivably give that round to Fiziev. He did outland Justin Gaethje in the first and second. So, you know what, all I'm trying to suggest, not that it was a robbery or anything, but just that it was not a one-sided fight. It really wasn't. The third round was pretty one-sided, at least for the last 4 minutes of it. But Fiziev was in that fight, and I feel like the circumstances are all aligning for this to be a victory for Fiziev here, and I'm going to pick Fiziev. I am picking Fiziev. This is only 3 rounds, though, so I'm going to pick Fiziev by decision, although I can see him getting Justin Gaethje out of there in any rounds, although it's hard to pick against Gaethje after a devastating loss because he always tightens up in the subsequent fights, so it's hard to say that he gets knocked out here, but maybe this fight is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and maybe this is the one that really just ends things for Justin Gaethje. It's really hard to say, though, because we've seen him get knocked out and then come back and show that durability once again, so it's hard to say. But that Max Holloway knockout was just so bad. But it's not all we can really factor in here. I think Justin Gaethje, maybe a little bit quicker hands, a little bit sharper with the hands even. I know, Fiziev, he is the higher level kickboxer on paper, but he really throws just wide shots most of the time and doesn't really throw straight shots in there. It's mostly just in the pocket, bang, bang, boom with the big meaty hooks, as Lucas Tracy would say, despite the fact that he's more technical than he shows with the hands. But the kicks are just lightning quick, man. The switch kick is something else, man, to the body. He gets that thing off so quickly. I don't know, dude, but at the same time, he went through that devastating injury, so can he be as explosive? Can he look the same as he did against Gaethje the first time around? And this is only a 3-round fight. If this was a 5-rounder, I would probably pick Justin Gaethje here. But because it's 3 rounds, and Justin Gaethje is coming off the worst loss of his career, dude, after the worst beating of his career as well, I'm picking Fiziev, but it's a reluctant Fiziev pick. This is like a 60-40, maybe even like a 55-45 type prediction. I'm not super confident about it, but I'm still going to stick with Fiziev here. So yeah, that does conclude my predictions for the overall card. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you on the next one.